Jeez. All right, guys, looks like we're live. Wait 1 second on my brother Chris. Sir. I'd like to call to order a utility special district meeting. The date is January 17th. The time is 5:36 p.m. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Vice Chair Shirley Lanier, Board Member Chadwick McCoy, Board Member Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
Board Member Julia Votel,
Here.
Ex officio Board Member Mayor Ronnie Felder, City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
Executive Director Michael Lowe,
Here.
Acting District Clerk Deborah Hall McCullen is present, District Attorney Don Nguyen,
Here.
District Finance Director Randy Sherman. Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we could have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Lanier.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions, deletions, substitutions from the board? City Manager?
None from staff, Mr. Chair.
Board members? So we do have a long presentation tonight, board. And there is a presentation on utility liens. I believe this is Board Member McCoy that you had requested this a few months ago to have this presented. Would we be inclined to allowing for this to be heard at the next meeting since we have three items or three meetings tonight? Or do we want to go forward with this?
They move it next meeting.
Board member?
Fine with the next meeting.
Board Member McCoy, I believe you requested it, so
Well,
I'm gonna let you take the lead.
did I tell you I requested it?
No, I believe we did it at the last meeting. I believe we heard from this in November.
Okay, so I said I had concerns regarding the utility district process. I'm not even sure that this is even proper to be before us because during my agenda review yesterday, Mr. Sherman, who's the finance director and who oversees the billing department, made it clear that this is his item and none of these items have even been reviewed or even confirmed by legal. So quite frankly, I don't have a problem with taking it back, but there are various scenarios that I shared with the members in the agenda review yesterday that I think needs to be hashed out. But to say that this is my item, I definitely had concerns because I know we've received a number of calls from individuals, but I have no problem with doing this. But if there's a better situation for us to work it out internally, at least where Randy Sherman doesn't seem to unilaterally do whatever he thinks he can do without passing it through legal, especially when he's citing federal regulations that legal hasn't even had a chance to take an opportunity yet. So certainly it's not for me that I'm asking that this be delayed. More importantly, it's for staff to make sure that they come out and they're on the uniform page because Mr. Sherman seems to have brought this forward without even conferring with legal on this.
So what would, a follow-up to that, Board Member McCoy, I believe we just give staff clear direction as to our expectations. My request was only based upon remembering you had asked about liens. I didn't know the full intent and details. So I agree with you. If it's not fully cooked, we don't want to actually waste time talking about that tonight. So if we can move this to another date and then possibly in commissioner comments, we can give clear direction as to what we'd like to see in the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member McCoy. Any additions, deletions, substitutions? Disclosures from the board? Motion to adopt agenda?
So moved.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk?
Board Member Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Votel, Yes. Vice Chair Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you. No consent agenda. We'll go straight into the regular agenda. Madam Clerk?
Item 7A, Resolution 001-24UD, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the proposal from Chenmore and Associates, Inc. to perform hydraulic modeling of the utility district's wastewater system, authorizing the Utility Special District Finance Director to make payments from project number 23035 in an amount not to exceed $166,020 and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item.
Motion
Except
for
Mr. Carter, this item is now closed.
Thank you. Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Executive Director of the Utility Special District, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Chairman, Michael Lowe, Executive Director, for the record. This is a work that we need from Chenmore and Associates. As we go through all the building that's going on in the eastern part of the utility district, or proposed building as well, and also with work going on with the water treatment plant, we need to do some modeling of our wastewater system, particularly what we call the force mains, the lines that are under pressure, to determine whether or not we have sufficient capacity or what modifications we need to make to allow for the future growth of the city. So they will then come forward with recommendations which we can then use for our own ongoing developments.
Thank you, Director Lowe. Question from the board? Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Miller Anderson?
Yeah.
Board Member McCoy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you. 7B?
Item 7B, Resolution Number 002-24UD, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the extension of the operation of the biosolids processing facility beyond the planned expiration of the operations maintenance agreement expiring in 2029 for an additional 20-year period and providing an effective date. Mr. Chairman, we do not have any public comment cards for this item.
Motion to approve resolution number 002-224UD.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I could have the Executive Director of the Utility Special District, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Chairman, the board of the East Central Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility contracted into a previous arrangement that was made by several wastewater systems for their biosolids to be handled at a plant that was built at the Solid Waste Authority premises. This plant produces pelletized fertilizer, which is then put on fields. The operations agreement states that with 5 years prior to expiration, we need to determine whether or not we wish to continue. The indication is that all the parties present in the agreement wish to continue. Therefore, I need your authority to go forward to the ECR board and vote in favor for the extension. We anticipate doing that at our March meeting. This will then allow us to go ahead with planning for the future of this facility.
Thank you, Director Lowe. Board members? Madam Clerk?
Board Member McCoy? Board Member McCoy?
Yes.
Board Member Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Botel? Vice Chair Lanier? Chairperson Lawson? That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
We are now on item 7C.
Thank you.
Resolution 003-24UD, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the cost of work to be performed on the utility district assets within the US 1 right-of-way during the resurfacing of the US 1 corridor within the utility district service area by the Florida Department of Transportation, authorizing the Utility Special District Executive Director to sign the agreement for the work, authorizing the Utility Special District Finance Director to make payments from project number 23044 in an amount not to exceed $111,720, plus a contingency of $11,172, 10%, and providing for an effective date.
Public comment?
Second. There are no comment cards for this item, Mr. Chair.
So, motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Executive Director of the Utility Special District, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Chairman, the Florida Department of Transportation has determined that they're going to resurface a considerable length of US 1, which includes a period that's, or a part that's within the special district's purview. When they do this, we have to make adjustments to the manhole covers and the valve pits as well, so that the road surface is smooth. They will put additional rings or whatever's necessary to ensure that there's a level road surface once the work is completed. The work occurs during the middle of the night predominantly, and it is common practice to use the contractor to actually do the work as they go down the road, rather than us trying to be there in the middle of the night and do the work whilst they're resurfacing. So this will allow us to use them. This is independent of any other work that might be done whilst this resurfacing work is ongoing, but has to happen regardless.
Thank you, Director Lowe. Board members. Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lowe, what's the implications on the procurement policy? Because clearly it seems like a situation where we can't opt out. What does our procurement policies call for in a situation like this?
The standard, we've gone through the Florida Department of Transportation does the procurement. We signed on to these recently with also the county in Haverhill Road. So they go through the procurement procedures, and then we utilize their, basically, although we're not piggybacking, effectively, we're using their procurement policy.
Okay, but I'm not asking about Department of Transportation. I'm asking about the City of Riviera Beach. 16.5 is our procurement section. Is this provided for in our procurement section of our code? The one that governs us. Now, I'm not talking about Department of Transportation.
This has been approved by procurement, so I presume it has, but I'm not aware of the particular policies.
And in fact, that's not here. And that's exactly where I was going. There's not a single source sign off in procurement backup on this. So my question is very simple. In our code.
Procurement approved the item as it was going through, but yes, we'll.
Okay, well, perhaps you should probably get some help from the procurement persons, because 16.5 of our procurement section provides for the various types of procurements. Either it's a sole source sign off, is it a piggyback, is it a competitive solicitation? If this is a sole source, then this doesn't meet what our code requires. So somebody should be able to speak to how is it that we can authorize. And Mr. Lowe, you might think I'm probably being over the top and harassing, but the very issue happened when some kind of way Mr. Bailey stood up here and authorized the expenditures of utility special district dollars at a city council meeting when it never even came before the board. So my very question is, if you're saying to me that we have the authority to spend $110,000, I don't care what DOT says. We're governed by our code of ordinances, which is passed by a majority of the council and then ratified by the mayor or even vetoed by the mayor. So provide me what legal authority that exists within the City of Riviera Beach Code of Ordinances that allows us to do that. And if it's a single source, then it should have been signed off and in the backup. Less than that, I don't think is legally sufficient. I'm looking for an answer. And if you like, we can bring it back next month.
Director Lowe or Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Please.
Mr. Lowe, DOT is performing the work?
The DOT is contracting the work. They're not, they never actually do the work themselves, but they're contracting the work, yes.
So this is a reimbursement to DOT for the relocation of the infrastructure that is the city of Riviera Beach or the utility special district?
Yes, it's our infrastructure that they're working on, yes.
Right. So it's not a situation where we're procuring those services. We're agreeing to reimburse them for the costs associated with the relocation of our infrastructure, correct?
That's correct.
I don't know if he's your coach, but I'm going to ask him, and I'll ask you, what part of 16.5 is that permissible? And then 16.5 is our procurement ordinance. And if I can provide some context, 16.5 of our procurement ordinance speaks down to a widget if we went out to purchase it. But you're going to tell me you're going to spend $110,000 of utility district dollars, and we haven't even established the legal right or authority that can do it. And if it's, Ms. Boynton, if you have the answer, that'd be great. I see she's headed up. And I'm doing this asking because I'm telling you, so often we sit up here and we trust staff's word, and we get situations like, well, the council approved it, but yeah, the utility district didn't approve it. So somebody help me out with giving me,
Deliberately brought in front of you because I didn't want that other situation to occur.
and I appreciate that. But it really pains me to find out that I've been duped after the fact when somebody should have said, hey, this is a piggyback, no different than the CBRE. We went through a whole presentation about CBRE, and then nowhere in the resolution did it say it was a cooperative that we were joining with somebody else. I mean, I'm spending too much time reading the code and the backup for a staff who does this full time. And I got to remind you, because even in 2024, we didn't get a pay increase or a COLA. My salary is $19,000 a year. Bring me something in here that I can vote for and know that it's right. And if there's some justification that staff has, it should be in the backup. It's not in the backup, I would welcome someone to explain it to me, please.
Ms. Boynton, did you want to opine on this?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Chair, City Council, Tanisha Boynton, Procurement Department. Reviewing this item, and to me, in the Procurement Department, it falls under the method of a piggyback, not necessarily as a sole source in this case. And the reason behind that is the fact that it is DOT doing the procurement method on our, as a part of their process, and we being able to utilize and access their contract and their agreement to proceed with our project.
Okay, so you would have been the person in procurement that signed off on this?
I did review and approve this item.
Okay, well, it should certainly be notations in the backup to speak to that, and specifically what provision in our code allows us to do that.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boynton. Board members, any additional questions? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Board Member McCoy?
Yes.
Board Member Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Votel?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Discussion deliberation, City Manager,
None, Mr. Chair.
Executive Director,
And Mr. Chair,
District Attorney. Discussion by Board.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
Mr. Evans, can you speak to us on the matter regarding security changes at the Utility Special District under Water Authority, specifically justification and what proposals administration received in order to usurp the authority of the contract that the City Council had approved?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I can have Ms. Boynton, a representative from procurement, to speak about the process concerning the security services that have been procured for the purposes of the utility special district.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Welcome, Ms. Boynton.
Good afternoon, Chair, Council. Tanisha Boynton, Procurement. In light of security problems that we had with our existing or previous vendor, it was in the best interest, it was deemed in the best interest to terminate our agreement with Getting Services. So procurement advised that we should go ahead and move forward with an emergency procurement process due to the nature of the security risk that was posed at the USD, and to make sure that we were able to continue to provide 24-hour or provide security services for that location. And in doing so, excuse me, the procurement department reached out to some of the responding original vendors that responded to our initial security services agreement. And we were provided estimates or quotes. And based on the responses that we received, and also going through vetting the licenses and the necessary internal procurement process, we moved forward with awarding the contract to, I believe, USI for the water treatment plant, because they had the Homeland Security training and had the understanding and experience to provide the services necessary for the water treatment plant.
Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
Oh, so thank you. After my friends in Riviera Beach were shooting all night on New Year's Eve, I decided to come out about 3 in the morning, and that's not who's at UD. It's A and Associates that's at Utility Special District.
My apologies, A&A Associates.
So what I didn't understand is, did the contract give staff the authority to cancel this agreement that the city council approved?
All of our contracts have termination clauses, and if it poses a risk to the city and its staff, especially given the USD security risk factors, we do have, by going through the termination process, have the ability to terminate contracts due to various reasons.
Right, and I get that. And let me tell you why I kind of have a different of opinion. Not saying that you're not justified, but just as general policy makers, there's 5 of us. We don't get on a conference call. We can't call each other and talk about it. If there's going to be something of this magnitude, which I remember specifically this contract having a value of $1.3 million when it was approved by us, maybe a little over 2 years ago, there should have been some sort of, well, actually, there was a memo after the fact, but there was no justification as to how. Now, I don't disagree that they should have been replaced. I'm not saying that, but if you're going to change the very direction of this board, we need to have some sort of justification and some proof. Now, certainly, I've observed things that I think were already questionable when folks were sleep on the job and folks walking out with equipment. So certainly that means they're not here to work and we should replace them. But I don't want to get calls from employees or even owners and representatives of Giddens Company saying that this wasn't a fair process. I would hope, even in this whole process, that you guys can believe that they're not performing, that there's some process for redress, because it could be something that could have been completely misunderstood. So, you know, even when I go over there now, I'm not even sure. When I asked the person in the booth, could I see their post orders? And I'm saying to myself, so we swapped out Giddens for this company, and the security guard was not even aware of her post orders. She had to refer to a book. And I know personally from my experience at UD, the post orders were woefully inadequate. So I'm not sure what had to happen or what quotes you got. I want to see everything, and I want to see the post orders. And maybe this is an offline conversation, but when I pulled up there at 3 o'clock in the morning, this person was just sitting in the booth with no expectations of what she should be doing other than access control. So I asked the question, do you have checkpoints that you go around to? She did say she did, but you know, I'm not sure if we really understand what security means, because if you got one person manning the utility district and she has routine checkpoints, she leaves the booth, and guess what? I'm standing here for 20 minutes wondering why my whole utility district that services 55,000 people is completely unmanned. So is it really an issue of security, or is it we didn't like them. So I don't like the fact that we're swapping out one company for somebody else who clearly doesn't have a good understanding of what the expectations and the roles are. I'm not sure what TSA requirements you guys are looking at or relying on, but I specifically seen immediate security flaws and failures just in the first day that I stopped by there on, which was New Year's Day, about 3 a.m.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
if there is any desires from the board to talk about anything that is critical infrastructure, especially associated with the health, safety, and welfare of the public, specifically the utility district, that's a conversation that is ripe for private discussions or a session in the shade that provides to speak on security protocols. I know when this particular entity was selected, it was selected predicated on their experience as it relates to understanding of homeland security facilities and the treatment of how these particular facilities are supposed to be protected. So we can provide some more specificities to that particular matter in a private session. Also, I do know that there is a solicitation process that will occur for security services, both for the city as well as the utility special district. And that is something that this was a stopgap measure because of some of the concerns that were articulated by the end user departments.
Chair, may I?
Board Member
We,
McCoy first. Hold on, Ms.
sorry.
Moynihan. Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
So lastly, does anyone have any information on, does the contract specifically allow the staff to have the ability to terminate this, or is this something that refers to the city terminating the agreement?
In the original agreement or in this current situation?
In the
that we're
original agreement with Giddens?
It does not specify exactly who has the right to terminate, but it has always been a combination of the department's decision, especially for poor performance and issues. And they normally would get with the procurement department. We would have a discussion with legal. And like I said earlier, in this case, it was a matter of security concerns. So we felt collectively that it was in the best interest to move forward with terminating the contract. The Public Works Department contract administrator is overseeing and has been overseeing the security contract, and we have applicable documentation for poor performance and repeated issues and violations of the terms of the contract that we have with the previous vendor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Board Member. Madam Clerk, we have a public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have one general public comment card, the acceptance, well, we have two.
I'm going to go ahead and read the statement while we close it out. Public comments shall begin at 5:45 unless there's no further business of the board, which in the event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if any items being considered at 7:30, then comments shall begin immediately after the item is concluded. Please be reminded, the board has adopted rules of decorum governing public comment during official meetings, which have been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, City Council Chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, or from the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Madam Clerk, public comments?
Margaret Shepherd.
Happy New Year to each one of you, and welcome back to today's. I'm here today not really talking about the utility district, but to tell you that I think the parade was just excellent, just to break the ice, not into the utilities district thing. But I think that, Chartrick, you complained about everything. You just, I think, want to gather the steam of being televised. I think the utilities are doing a great job. I don't see no real problems with it, but it seems like you're going to nitpick with every little thing. And I think that you're not a lawyer and you're not smarter than Jonathan Evans. And I think the nitpicking or tearing down the staff is just inappropriate. But I want to make sure that the public understand that the utility district is very important to the city of Riviera Beach. And without ado, I think you're doing a good job. But to continue this pulling everything apart is really ridiculous to me. When you sit there and look at you on television, you're the only one talking. They're not saying too much of anything. So I think, if you think it's funny or you think you're smart, I'm here to tell you,
Ms.
you're
Shepherd, if
not.
you can address the entire board and not any
No,
individual
I'm
board member.
talking to him because he's the only one talking. You all are not talking. And I don't think it's appropriate that we sit here and he think he's the smartest thing on the fence. And I think if anything, Mr. Evans, if he's the city manager, he has the right, he doesn't speak. You ask him a question, if you hear him say, Mr. Chair, then he go on and start talking. But I don't think it's appropriate that we sit here and we continue to hear one person talk. So I think what you need to do is go in the bathroom and talk to yourself, because I think that's where you're much needed.
Thank you for your comments. Madam Clerk,
Loretta Paulk.
Ms. Polk? Welcome, Ms. Polk.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Park, and I'm a resident of Riviera Beach. And I just want to commend the utility district. We had on our street, my street, 20th and G, we had a very bad, devastating infrastructure breakage, sewage breakage. They had a contract about I think it was C&D, a contract, the company come out. The entire utility district worked very hard, diligently, to try to correct this intrusion that we had. It was very damaging. And also, my council representative, Mrs. Kashamba Miller Anderson, was definitely there and aware of the problem. And I just want to commend Mr. Jonathan Evans for having such a fantastic, amazing, dedicated utility district. And also Mr. Dole, I want to commend that because they got the situation under control within at least a couple of days. And it was very devastating. I went down there and I took some pictures of this sewer break. This is cause of neglect, not over this board, but over 50 years neglect of our infrastructure. And this is what we get. This is what happens. This was long before Mr. Evans came into our city. I think he's doing a marvelous job, and so is the director of utilities, Mr. Dole. I think they're doing marvelous. And those utility workers that got down in that hole, those men worked diligently trying to fix this. And I think, hats off to them. And we have a wonderful utility department, and I hope that we will reconcile a lot of this infrastructure that is totally not adequate, because this was devastating to see this. Absolutely. A huge pipe, huge holes in the pipe, which they tried to remedy, but they couldn't because of the age. So what we need to do is come together in 2024 and beyond to work together. Stop the criticizing. We got so much to do in this city. Work together. And let's stop this. Let's stop this. And I thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Polk. Any additional comments from the board? With no further business, this meeting is adjourned. We're going to start the next meeting in just about 1 minute, guys. Chris.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot to send it back to you.
Run down. Let's give him, you little boat right. Let's give him.